Now the Ngöndro here, then it begins with Namu, no matter what Lama can, Tanjo, then the Shin, but cut case and meditation, which is in the leg, you blow on me. And the color the gets on a tenant that will show you show. That is the first line over here. Now it starts with Namu. I take homage in the Lama. You who know. I think the Lama can is now taking refuge in the Lama. Lama is now the embodiment of all the teachings. He's the embodiment of all the Buddhas. He's the embodiment. We have not met the Buddha, yet through the Lamas now you are hearing the teaching of the Buddha and you are being initiated into his teachings. Therefore, Lama becomes the embodiment of the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha. And why is the Lama undeceiving? Because Lama stands for the relative and the absolute truth in union. He does not stand for one truth, but the two truths together. He embodies both the truth of the relative and the absolute. And he is undeceiving because the nature is based on compassion, is not based on self-liberation, but is based on the nature of openness of the mind. The very clear nature of the vividness of the mind itself, the clarity of the mind itself, is the embodiment of the Lama. That is the Lama. The Lama comes as the relative, the Lama comes as the absolute truth. He embodies both the truth as relative and absolute. So he's the union of the truth, therefore he cannot be deceiving because he has no selfish self-motivation at all. Other gods and other deities, they have their own ego and they have their own self-motivation. But in the process of the nature of the Buddha's teaching of the Tathagata Garbha, the essence of the Lama is like a Vajra, does not hold the phenomena of duality. Therefore, since he does not hold the phenomena of duality, that is the nature, that is undeceiving. So truth, a Lama that embodies my clear space of my mind, which is not holding to the phenomena of duality, which is the nature of self-arising wisdom, primordial wisdom itself, I will take refuge. I will bow my heart down to refuge. Now, what is refuge? Refuge relative and refuge absolute. Refuge, we are always taking refuge, doesn't matter. Our human beings, from the time we are born, we've been taking refuge. The fact you're in this house, you're in this room now, is refuge. You're inside the house, so you don't want to be caught by the storm, you don't want to be caught by the rain, you don't want to be caught by the cold. So you take refuge in the house here. The stronger one is always taking, the weaker one is always taking refuge in the stronger one. To be protected, of course. Refuge means seeking protection. That's what refuge is. So here when we take refuge in our absolute mind and you realize the nature of the Tathagata Garbha that is within us, that is the absolute refuge. The relative refuge is understanding that everybody has the essence. And so in the Buddhist term, what is refuge? Refuge from now on until enlightenment, that is the duration of your refuge. There is no such thing as permanent refuge. Does not exist. Even the refuge that you are taking in the Buddha is relative to the fact that you believe in the purity and therefore Buddha appears as the pure arising emanation. He arises as the pure emanation. That is from your own mind again, because in the actual sense of refuge, there is no such thing as refuge. Who is there to give refuge? So the refuge is absolute and refuge is relative. So the refuge itself is understood. In sound there is emptiness, yet in emptiness there is sound. That is refuge. Refuge in your own mind. Until and unless you realize your own mind, then there is the relative refuge where the Buddhas will appear. Has to appear. Because it's skillful means in union. So I always say that the teachings of the Buddha is on the nature of the mind. It is not a religion. It does not follow a system. It does not. In fact, it destroys the concept of God in the sense we see Him existing. If we see Him existing, that is duality. If there is duality, there is good and there is bad. There has to be both. There can't just be one. There has to be both. But yet to say this mind is empty and devoid and has no quality is wrong. This mind, devoid in nature, is all primordial wisdom. So the word lama means lama mepa is the understanding of there is nothing more excellent than that. Is the combination of the father and mother essence together, put together in the word lama. Lama has a word understanding of heaviness. Heaviness of what? Heaviness of weight of wisdom that the lama has. It has that heaviness. The heaviness refers to that. Is wisdom compassion? So therefore I take refuge in the Lama, who is the embodiment of all the refuge, which is the absolute nature of my mind. That is the Lama I take. I take refuge in the relative Lama that appears to me now, and I take refuge in the absolute Lama, which is the nature of his mind, unimpeded by any obstacles. So to this Lama then I take refuge. Lama can. So therefore, I take refuge in you. Now there are four things that we have to recognize when we take refuge. The truth of our nature as it is. First is, this human form is extremely difficult to obtain. You say, why is this human form extremely difficult to obtain? There's so many people, millions and trillions of people all around the world. What's so difficult about human birth? Yes, they have obtained human birth, these millions, trillions. But how many of them are there who knows what is right from what is wrong? How many people are there who knows the higher awareness of understanding the bodhicitta, the nature of the compassion state of the mind? And how many of them are there who have connected to the true Dharma? Extremely difficult to obtain human life is connecting to the Dharma in the right time and right circumstances and at the right moment. And knowing what is right from what is wrong. That's the important part of the Dharma. What is Dharma? Dharma is knowing what is right and what is wrong. Adopt what is right and abandon what is wrong. Abandon what that brings suffering to others. Abandon what brings karma to you. Abandon what is an obstacle that creates an obstruction to you in your seeking the peace of mind. Adopt virtue, that which develops causal wisdom and so you causal wisdom and merit wisdom, you have to develop that. So just being human being is not enough. You have to have the circumstances in which you are able to realize your true nature, seeking enlightenment. That is what is called a proper human being. Otherwise, just having head, mouth and things, it's not enough. The right circumstances and situations must be there for you to connect to the path of the Dharma. Meet the teacher at the right time. Have the opportunity that you can practice and have the endowments that you are fully gifted with. You have the ears to listen, you have the body to practice, and you have the situation and the time to practice. These are conducive human things that you need to have. Otherwise, you can be born in a period of time when no Buddha will appear. You can be born in a time where they're all cannibals. So they're human beings too. But that is not the perfect human form. So this time now that you have time to listen to the Vajrayana teachings, meet the right teacher, and have the time to practice, is extremely conducive. You will not find this situation again. And don't take this life that you have now for granted. Today I'm a human being, next time I'll be a human being. No. Next time what you will be, no one can tell you what you will be. And if you are born within the sixth realm, you are born within the realm of suffering. So, so this human body is not easy to find. If you at the time of the Bardo, when you were in the state of the Bardo and you were roaming around looking for your parents, how much suffering have you gone through? Do you realize that you couldn't find your right parents and you're in the mental body and you're looking to inject your consciousness into a union of father and mother and you couldn't get into it? Suffering. And how much times also you have suffered in your mother's womb when you were in there? Mother's womb was not exactly a palatial place. It's a foul-smelling place that you were in. Completely compacted and confined into a space that you could hardly move. Your suffering is already there from that time moment. Our born into this universe is tainted with suffering. It doesn't mean that most people think, oh, Buddhists have a very negative view about suffering. No, we know the truth of suffering. And when you know the truth of suffering, you look for the cessation of suffering. And when you look for the cessation of suffering, then you will find wisdom. But the pain is our basic identification. So, from the time of the Bardo, where you had no body, to the time you have body in your mother's womb is suffering. Then you go through the 9-10 months of further suffering inside that womb again. Because the ovulation of egg from dot to knot to oblong to upsize, all of this egg shape that goes in, each of the stage of the egg that is developing in the mother's womb is suffering. And furthermore, suffering is when you are in your mother's womb and the parents think of rejecting you or aborting you, is another suffering you have. But your memory may not hold to those. But certainly, when you're born and your reaction to them will show what your hurt feelings are, and those will come out. So finding this human body is extremely difficult. It's a classical example where the teachers have said, like throwing a yoke in the ocean and a turtle is able to take his neck out and put his head through the yoke. There's more chance of that happening than getting human birth. So this human birth is extremely difficult to obtain. So don't take it for granted. Don't take it for granted. Today you are able to sleep, you are able to eat, you are able to ship. Don't take those for granted. Because when you lose the capacity of those, then you realize the problem with us is we take everything for granted. Everything is real. So, This human birth then, which we have now, and we have found it. And so many people ask, what is the purpose of my life? What is the purpose of my life? What difficulty is there to know what is the purpose of your life? You think the purpose of your life is to just to live and to earn and to do things? No. The purpose of your life is really to seek enlightenment in this very lifetime. That is the purpose of your life. Earning, anybody can earn. Living, anybody can live. That's the normal thing of the life. There will never be a time when you think I have earned enough. There will never be a time when you think I have enough riches. There will never be a time when you think enough is enough. No, never. Because you are not able to curb your ego and your desire. And the whole thing is how to atone for that. How to know satisfaction. How to know. And to know is now to know the practice of Dharma. That is important. And now in the process of things we are born, we have already suffering. 4 of the major suffering we already have in the birth. Ke, Ga, Na, Chi. There are 4 of them. Pain of the birth. Pain of the sickness. And then finally, of course, the pain of the death. We have all of these four major pains. So this human birth then that we have attained now, we should appreciate that we have got this human birth, and regardless of the sufferings that are there, then not to be distracted by the suffering and the emotion, but to turn the mind towards the Dharma and then to seek the Dharma as a way of coming out from this suffering permanently. And the point of the Dharma now, of the practice, is then it will pacify all those obscuring emotions that we have, and it will let the natural wisdom arise. And that's what we need. We need to let the ignorance rest and the wisdom arise. That's what we have to do. With our emotions and with our tainted emotions, we give only rise to emotions. We do not give rise to the wisdom. So, birth, old age, sickness, and death, these are the 4 major sufferings we have. Combined with them is additional suffering. Suffering on top of suffering. So just having this then life and this rebirth is now not enough. They are the 4 major sufferings, and they are the 8 extended sufferings that added to that. As I explained, suffering in the birth. When you are born, you have to come through a very narrow passage, extremely difficult, excruciating when your backs get all crushed up, and you don't know whether the mother will survive or you will survive, you don't know. There is already a pain at birth. And the first cry that you cry when you are born is not the cry of happiness that I'm here. It's the cry of pain. For the first time your skin gets burned by the outer air. The outer air rushes into your skin, and your skin that has been protected for the first time, is set on fire. And then on top of that, they spank you at the back for once more to make the matters even worse. That's what happens. So that is suffering of birth. But the mental suffering already has happened at the time of the formation inside the womb already. And sickness, no need to say, we all know what the pain of the sickness is. In sickness, you wait for the day to come, then you wait for the day to, you wait for the night to pass away, so the day will come. When the day comes, you want the night to come. Your mind is so agitated, you don't know what you want anymore. And then on top of that, when you have a contagious illnesses or a very kind of critical illnesses, then the worries in the mind is something else. And then when it comes to old age, what's old age? In old age, that's the thing. Here in the West, when you come to the old age, you want to live like a young person again. You want to do all the things that you did when you were young. You try to fulfill all your young things that you did, your young fantasies. No, where the old age is time to have your mala in your hand and start to recite, because you know what's coming next is your death. Old age doesn't mean that now you're going to live more. It means you're going to die any day. And life is impermanent. And death can come at any time and any moment. No one can say, I will live longer than you, or you will live longer than me. No one can say that. Death comes unannounced, and it comes. So in old age, what happens? You lose you lose your look, your skin sags, right? The suffering of old age we know. You can't eat what you normally eat. Even if you eat the food that you enjoy, you get sick. You cannot. And you cannot do the things that you normally would do. You cannot do it anymore because you are old. And then when you keep on getting older and older, at some time then you feel cursed that you have lived so long, that you are a cause of trouble to your family now, that have to look after you. And maybe you get some scoldings from your immediate family too. Oh, what a harassment you are. You are old, you cannot do anything, and we have to do it for you. We have to do this, we have to do that for you. You know. And so you begin to see how they are reacting to you, and at that old age you get hurt. You cannot say anything much because fear of being thrown out, fear that they will just cut you off completely, and you have suffering. And then on top of that, they say, if you have money, they put you into an old people's home, right? That's like the compassion that you are in the old people's home. For what? Because you'll be looked after better, you'll get your medicine, you'll get your things in time. There's no, it's because they don't want responsibility of you in their house, so they send you back into the house, into the old people's house. That's not bodhicitta. An old parent at the age when he's there should be in the house, should be with the family, should die in the house, not in the hospital. That's not a place for somebody to die. It's not. Why it is not? Because in the hospital many people have died, and that person also old who's going to die will have a lot of interferences in its death. He'll see things, hear things that is not necessary. And anyway, the home is the place where that old person's mind is settled and at peace. Why would you want him to or her to go out? If you really love your parents, if you really love, you will not put them into an old people's home. Now it's time for you to take care of them. They have taken care of you when you were a baby. Sometimes think, what as a child you have done to your parents that you are so proud of. At birth you gave them a problem, and when you were able to eat something, you stole the food from their mouth. And finally, when you have grown up well enough, you stole their wealth. So, your part of the karma, heavy karma will rest with your parents, how you behave with them. So old age, then that's the problem now. Being rejected. Not being able to do the things that you want to do, you feel. And then on top of that, if the children are well behaved, they will have patience. They'll have patience, and they'll try to they'll control their emotions and temper and whatever. And if the child is not that well behaved and well tutored, they will scream at you at times, and shout at you, and scream and scold you at times. See? Then the last is death, the fourth truth. Death will come to all of us, isn't it? Death is going to come to all of us. We know death is going to come. How many of our relatives are already dead? How many people we know that have died? Some young, some old, whatever. As you are born, you are subject to die. That is no two ways out about it. So that means accepting impermanence. And how do we accept impermanence? No, we don't want to accept impermanence. We want to create an illusion of our own. As everything is solid, nothing is ever going to change for us. But death is coming. Every day death is closer, every second death is closer, every moment death is closer. And yet from the practice point of view, if death is coming closer every year, what is there to celebrate the new year for? You're celebrating that you lived 1 year longer or something like that? No, we're 1 year closer to death. There's nothing to celebrate actually, since from a point of practice. So death will come. So we have to accept that. And we have to stop making all these wonderful plans that you have. Because at the moment of death, nothing of those plans of yours is going to be important for you. Nothing. These are all dreams that you created. And these are the dreams that will shatter. What you will carry with you is your karma. Your negative action, that you will carry with you. That doesn't matter. You will not be able to give that. That will follow you. Doesn't matter. But with you, you will be able to take nothing. So when you die, you'll go alone. Not even a single strand of hair you'll be able to take with you. All your possessions you have to leave behind, all your friends you have to leave behind, and everybody, most powerful medicine man and the most powerful emperor you might know will be of no help to you. You will go alone. At that time, as I said, what you can take with you is your karma, your positive action and negative action. That will follow you like a shadow. When a bird is up in the sky, there is no shadow. When the bird lands down, there is shadow. So, that karma will follow you that way. And then the fear of death will come at the time you die. You'll have lot of thoughts, lot of unresolved things coming up into your mind, and your mind will get agitated and frightened. If you have practiced the Dharma, this is what you've been waiting for. Your final test of your practice is now in front of you. But if you have not practiced and you have done nothing much, then fear will come. Where will I be born? Where am I going to go? What's going to happen? What will happen to my relatives? What will happen to this? What will happen to that? Who will take my possession? What will happen? All unnecessary thoughts. You will not be able to face those thoughts out and just let it be. Just drop it. You will not be able to drop it. You'll be holding on to everything tenaciously instead. And if you practice well enough, you will see these all as, as projections. And you let go. So death will come. Yes, it will come. So all our practice of what we have now is to neutralize the fear of death. Because from the absolute state of the mind has never died. So what is death? Where is death coming from? And what is it that mind is holding to the death? Death doesn't exist. But though it doesn't exist, will you be able to realize that it doesn't exist? That's the important part. If you can understand the deathlessness of your mind and you have reached a certain understanding and confidence, Bardo will cease for you. Bardo will not arise for you. There is no way that Bardo will arise. How will it arise? When you have no concept about it, how will it arise? So, then death does come. And then when you die, you are lucky. You are very lucky. If the people that love you keep your dead body inside the house for a few days. As you're dead, you are a corpse, you'll be discarded out. But in actual fact, according to the Bardo teachings, we do require 3 days to be kept in the house, undisturbed, so the dissolution of all the chakras can happen. The crown chakra, 32, throat chakra, 16, heart chakra, 8, 64 navel, 8 secret center. All these 5 chakras, which are the 5 Buddha families, which are the 5 primordial essences, they must dissolve. It takes 3 days in general dissolution. But then, in a practitioner, 3 days may not be necessary at all. It can be instantly, it can be in a day, and it can be instantly also. But if you don't realize you're dead, because you're running after your habitual thoughts, that you're so used to it, it's hard for you to accept you're dead within those 3 days, even though the chakra is now dissolving. But on the 49th day of your death, you will realize you are dead, and you have no choice to stay anymore. You will be thrown by the winds of karma to your next rebirth. But that takes every week, 7 days is a week, 7 is 49, 7 times you will have the awareness, I am dead. But do you get it is another story. First 7 days, second 7 days, third 7 days, fourth 7 days, maybe not. Then, now, if the death is the end of everything, that is beautiful, that is fine then. There are some philosophies that believe after you're dead, and there's nothing, you turn into dust and you turn into powder and that's it. Well, if that was the case, then that's fine. You're dead, now you're cremated and good. Yes, there's the issue that you have to get a meta, actually, get the leg you don't know, and comes a horror to me, get some drive down shoulder yours. But that doesn't seem to be enough. After that, there is rebirth. That was the end of everything, that's fine. No, but then you have your karma. Then the fruition of the karma that you've caused, positive or negative, then there is rebirth. Rebirth in any of the 6 realms you could be born. Doesn't matter. And why rebirth? Because you have not purified your desire, you have not purified your attachment, you have not purified your anger, you have not purified all of those. Because of that sensation of that which you still identify on these 5 poisons, you will be born within the realms. Therefore, it is important to purify these 5 poisons. It's extremely important. Even from the point of the Jene, it's important to pacify the bliss so that you're not attached to bliss, you're not attached to any emotion. Because attachment to any emotion means rebirth. That is hard. Therefore, remembering that, may my mind turn towards the Dharma, because Dharma is the only freedom from these rebirths. Now in the elaborate one explains these rebirths, these 6 realms. These 6 realms are basically the realms that is in our mind. These are the realms that are in our minds. Actually, if you think of the God realm and you think of the hell realm, that as is explained, and you think in the God realm there are beautiful palaces created by the Buddha, beautiful garden, beautiful lakes, all the birds are singing Dharma songs, all the people are. You think that Buddhas have no work, that they would create a nice beautiful garden for you up in the Buddha field? You think they have nothing else better than that to do? And then think, when they say in the hell realm, you will be tortured by these people, they'll cut you, they'll burn you, they will fry you. Buddha said, all actions have results. Karma is inescapable. If karma is inescapable, then these people that are torturing you, boiling you, burning you, what about their karma? Think. Will they not have karma because they are hurting me? I'm in pain. What about them? They have no karma or what? All is to do with your mind. All is to do with the projection of your mind. Your mind. If in the instant you will see that these are nothing but arising as perceptions, you are enlightened, you are free. This will no longer hold you. Because you are no longer holding to that, they will no longer hold you. So that's nothing, but you will not be able to think like that. You will not be able to conceive it that way. You will think they are real. You will think they are real. And that will solidify the grasping. It's all to do with your own projection, this perception. That's it. To say it is easy, to realize it is hard. So this now, this one, repeat this as many times as you can repeat. It doesn't mean you say it once and thrice and then it's done with. No, this has to hit you. These 4 truths must hit you. That's the reason why they has to be repeated as many times as you can, so that you're not just saying like a litany or parrot, but you are able to reflect on the words. Because those 4 truths relate with the 4 truths of the Buddha's teaching. It is the core of that. It relates to that. So, experience it. Experience the truth. Not just say it, You've got to experience that. You've got to feel that. That's important. Feel it. Then after that now, you come to the taking the refuge and the bodhicitta.